EQAO questions typically come with either 2 parts or 3 parts for students to go ahead and answer. Let's take a look at the following example. Explain why the animals in the pond behave differently than the cow. That's the first question that's required of students to answer. So I modeled for them the need to include a success criteria checkbox that they can utilize once that question has been answered. Let's move on. Now the question requires students to use details from the poem, so supporting evidence from the text. So that's the second component that students need to address, as well as incorporating their own ideas to support their answer. So this particular question has 3 parts. Notice that I've included 3 success criteria checkboxes that can be checked off once these components have been completed. Another key success criteria checkbox I've mentioned for students to go ahead and incorporate into their answers is a reminder to use the words in the question to start their answer. We affectionately use the acronym UWQSA. So in the case of this question, explain why the animals in the pond behave differently than the cow. We could utilize the words, the animals behave differently because, in order to start off our answer in an effective, coherent way. There's yet another key success criteria checkbox that I've suggested for students to go ahead and incorporate into their work. And that's a reminder to use our proofreading plan, otherwise known as OPP, after every sentence that they write. Students don't want to be put into a position where they've written and responded to all 3 parts of this question and then have to erase because everything that they had just written was nonsensical. Now it's time to review some of the hacks, if you will, that can help students save some time as well as some room when responding to short answer questions on EQAO. One key tip that I've suggested for students to do is to stretch the margins. Start slightly off the line. Start responding to those 3 questions slightly off this line over here. And certainly as you write, continue slightly off the line over here. It's amazing how a few letters in this space and this space, when squeezed in and those margins stretched, can save you some room at the very end when you might be struggling to fit in all sorts of different information. I've suggested for students, if they're citing, let's say, a paragraph within a given text to support their answer, that they can also save some room by going ahead and using the paragraph symbol, this sort of double P, if you will, when offering up proof. In this case here, though, this question relates to a poem. So the key term that we want to use is either the line, which can be abbreviated, and room saved using the abbreviation LN. Or students perhaps can go ahead and utilize the word stanza, or the letter S to save some room. Students have also been suggested to go ahead and utilize the caret symbol and perhaps go ahead and include a few words over and above their response to steal and borrow a little room over here. After all, teachers who are evaluating the EQAO test oftentimes have anywhere from dozens to hundreds to mark in a given day, and they've been instructed to not read past this point. So any room saved is really valuable. Let's take a moment and visit our EQAO webpage, where we have all sorts of useful 7 starters to help students go ahead and support with ideas from the text. Throughout the year, students and I have gone ahead and discussed the need to not only provide supporting proof from a text, but the need to also unpack what it means in relation to the answer that was just provided. Imagine a prosecutor in court holding up a cassette taken from a bank security camera that has caught some villain robbing the bank. If that prosecutor were to simply hold up that video cassette in court, point to it and say, there's your proof, the person is guilty, and then close their case, the judge or jury might struggle to really understand what's actually within that video cassette. Therefore, in order to be more effective and to really convince a judge and jury, or in this case for EQAO, a teacher who's evaluating it, one must go ahead and really explain how it relates to the answer. Much like that prosecutor would go ahead and have to point towards the person's face that's seen, perhaps the clothing that they were wearing, and compare it to the clothing that was collected from that person's home, point out particular timestamps on the video to indicate when this was actually recorded. It's all really, really vital in order to get a complete answer. One can go ahead and utilize the following sentence starter. My proof can be found in, let's say, paragraph number 2. You'll notice that it's followed up by having this unpacking sentence starter. This shows ABC. Or in paragraph number 2, it says XYZ, which proves, once again, there's that unpacking, ABC. Or, for example, in paragraph number 2, it says XYZ. And of course, that would not be as great as going ahead and finishing off with this key sentence, this means, which helps once again unpack the information.